are joining forces with anti-vaccination groups to oppose the government's measures to curb coronavirus. The so-called Freedom Movement is a growing, broad coalition including 5G conspiracy theorists, anti-capitalist groups and coronavirus skeptics. Their movement covers a broad spectrum of people, from those who oppose lockdown measures or don't believe masks are effective, through to people who believe the virus is a method of population control. Their shared belief is that the official information sources on the pandemic cannot be trusted. Conspiracy theories can be characterised by an anti-authority component. They are against the state or shadow groups which they claim control the state. One of the protesters is Ellie, a 28-year-old filmmaker and a theatre producer from London. Piers Corbyn, the older brother of former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn, is one of the movement's leaders. The 73-year-old alternative weather forecaster believes that COVID-19 is a lie and founded the group Stop New Normal. He has been arrested 5 times while campaigning against what he calls the plandemic. We met Ellie in East Dulwich in South London. Ellie does not deny the existence of the virus. She is against the coronavirus lockdown measures and feels strongly about protecting civil liberties, which she prioritises above reducing the spread of COVID-19, and above all wants life to go back to normal.
Well, I tend to stick to the facts. I'm not interested in theories. I want to stick to the facts, and therefore the research that I have done is really into official documents by the CDC, by the World Health Organization, by the New England Medical Journal of Medicine, and also the British Medical Journal. And so essentially these are the documents that I rely on. Well, I've been affected quite badly by the lockdown, and I think probably the majority of people have. So in my business, which is a creative field, as an artist, as a filmmaker, as a theatre producer, obviously the theatres have been shut, the film industry has come to a standstill, and we don't actually know when or if there is going to be a recovery. I don't consider myself to be a conspiracy theorist at all. I'm not doubting that there is a novel coronavirus strain out there. The movement essentially stands for freedom of speech, for our unalienable rights. Now, these have all been crushed, these have all been taken away from us. I support all of the individual movements, such as Stand Up X, Piers Corbyn, Stop New Normal. We all have a similar goal, which is to return to a state where we can live our lives without interference from the government and living in a world without these harsh restrictions. There are lots of overlapping issues and a movement such as this freedom movement that we have here at the moment, which has come out of the COVID-19 lockdown, these draconian measures. I think it attracts people from all sorts of walks of life with all sorts of beliefs. Now, I don't mind anyone's personal beliefs. I haven't researched into 5G as much as I should, but I think that because there are overlapping sort of concerns, I think it attracts lots of people with these beliefs.
Any vaccine approved for mass use in the UK will have to pass stringent tests on safety and effectiveness. 100,000 people have taken part in clinical trials for the first 3 vaccines to release their results.
The government is obviously rushing vaccines at the moment, a vaccine to fight COVID-19, to prevent COVID-19. And the worry is that the testing wouldn't be done that is necessary to provide a safe vaccine. I think that there is reasonable doubt in people's minds about world events of this year, and this is why they are drawn to movements such as Piers Corbyn's Stop New Normal and all the other groups.
Piers Corbyn was charged with 3 offences under the Health Protection Regulations 2020 for allegedly arranging an illegal gathering and not wearing a face covering. He denies breaching the rules and claims he was specifically targeted by police for political reasons. A group of loyal supporters applauded Mr. Corbyn as he arrived at the court.
The cases on today are concerned with my arrests on the 16th and the 30th of May in Hyde Park Speaker's Corner, where I'm charged with an illegal gathering of more than 2 people contrary to the COVID regulations. If we lose, we will appeal. Whatever happens, if they impose a fine, I will not pay the fine.
Corbyn has been campaigning for different causes, including squatters' rights in the mid-1970s since he was a student at Imperial College.
Okay.
His current beliefs include claims that Microsoft founder Bill Gates is part of a global cabal, which involves the World Health Organization and Big Pharma, and that 5G and 4G technology is responsible for COVID-19 symptoms, claims that have been comprehensively debunked.
One of the reasons I was targeted is obviously my organisational views on fighting the COVID con. The other is I'm my brother's brother, and that could be also an issue for the police. Those 2 things together have made it pretty certain they would target me. When people describe me as a conspiracy theorist, they're really saying more about them than me. It says that they know what I'm saying is probably true and they're frightened to admit it, so they're just mouthing nonsense in order to undermine what we're saying. The importance of facts, well, I'm a scientist, so evidence-based science is the only science, and the facts of investigations are the only facts that count. Well, the sort of people involved in this movement, our movement, are actually just ordinary people who can see there's something going wrong. There might be people who call themselves right-wing, there might be people who call themselves left-wing, or far-right or far-left, whatever. But they have one thing in common, that is to stop this New World Order and fight for accountability.
The rise of conspiracism is challenging society's trust in facts, undermining rational debate, faith in the institutions, and expert knowledge.
We have been through a lot of different government control measures for lockdown, for masking, for isolation, shops closing. For those who are really resenting all the controls, vaccines is one more government thing they're making us do. I don't think it's fair to call these people anti-science, because actually a lot of them are reinterpreting science. They want science. They say they want better science. They say the science isn't good enough. It's not clear enough. It's not certain enough. But they're not anti-science per se. They're not accepting what is scientific consensus, and that's another issue. The number of people in the general population that are willing to take the new COVID vaccine is barely to the level that would give us herd immunity. So even if the anti-vaccine, the anti-COVID vaccine sentiments created a 2% drop in willingness to take a vaccine, that would push us under herd immunity. So they could be quite a threat if we don't build the confidence of the population. I do think we have a huge responsibility now, before we have the vaccines ready to be administered and delivered, to make sure that the people who are undecided, that they're getting answers to their questions, their concerns now. Because if they don't, there's a very eager, willing, and sometimes quite aggressive group of anti-vaccine communities that will be there and endorse their concerns and say they're right to be worried.
While teams around the world race to create a vaccine for the coronavirus, the anti-vaxxers are racing to convince people that it will not be safe, regardless of what clinical trials conclude. The next public health hurdle is to help people negotiate a world oversaturated with information, to separate expertise from ideology.